right, here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Boom! And welcome to the Big Honker Podcast, brought to you from the earthquake epicenter of Texas, Knox City, Texas. I'm Jeff Stanfield with the world famous Andy Shaver.
Did you feel it last night,
yes,
or were you just
did.
talking shit?
No, did you feel it?
I didn't know it was an earthquake. I was sitting in my chair, editing some shit, and then my chair started shaking. I thought the air conditioner was like fucking up.
I thought someone walked in the door. I was in bed and I heard the door. You know, like when a door opens and another door, kind of the seal moves on it.
Yeah.
It did it once, and I thought, what the fuck? And it did a second time. So I got up with my gun. I thought somebody walked through the front door.
Cap somebody.
Walked in, got back in bed, laid down, couldn't sleep. Opened my phone up. Remember, I was talking about an earthquake. So Knox City is the earthquake center of Texas.
So you almost got in 2 fights yesterday. The one in the Lowe's parking lot, and then you were ready to cap somebody walking into your house last night.
That dude at Lowe's is lucky I didn't whip his ass.
Yeah. What do you say to that? So here we got Roy Carter. Carter's Big Island. Jeff almost got into a fight in the parking lot of Lowe's yesterday. How do you feel? What do you think about that?
Oh, Jeff's a big guy, but live CBI.
Live CBI.
That wasn't an earthquake, boys. That was Big Papa home from a road trip. You know what I mean? I miss Mama. Yeah. I thought y'all could feel it down there. How's it rocking today?
It's good. I'm glad Jeff didn't get in that fight yesterday. He'd be all fucking bruised up, and he says he could have taken that old man, but I don't know.
Well, I'm smart enough. If I'm smart enough,
Yeah.
I'm not going to
Jeff
smart off to a little
whipped
guy.
his ass right up until he tripped over that guy's walker.
Yeah, right. That's exactly right. Jeff's talking about this guy's age. Did you ever think that you'd be almost coming to blows with an old man like that, Jeff?
I never thought an old man would be stupid as that guy was. I was minding my own business. I was loading some shit up at Lowe's.
That's how it always starts. Minding my own business.
They told me where to go, and this old guy comes out and he starts cussing at me, and I rolled down my window. I'm like, what's going on? I thought he was talking to somebody else. And he called me a few words and told me I was blocking the entrance. I said, I pulled right where they told me to. And he told me something else. And I told him, I said, you can take your lazy ass and walk 3 fucking steps and walk around my truck's what you can do.
Told Jeff to suck his dick.
And that's when it all went to deal. Cause then I come out of my truck and I was freaking hot.
Ooh.
Now I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't have the ability to shut up, but if he would have been 6'4" and about 25 years of age, I probably would have played like I didn't hear him and just got to stay back in my truck. But
I hear you. I see you're still pissed off over the deal. That's right. There was a big old boy up in the bar one night when I was drinking, and I said, I want to see somebody in here that's the man enough to step out Main Street to me, and with me, toe to toe. God damn, I turned around, walked through the door, and got outside, and there that sumbitch was standing behind me. I squared up to him, and I turned around, and I poked him in the chest, and I said, it's your lucky fucking day. So basically, he knew he called my bluff. So you didn't get no scrap or anything.
No. I'm telling you right now.
Now Kamala Harris got a long way sucking call.
Yeah, she did, yeah. And I'm going to tell you right now, if the old boy would have punched me, would be the only way, or swung at me is the only way I would hit someone. I'm smarter than that. I'm not going to get provoked into a fight, but I can run my mouth with the best of them. But I wasn't going to take no shit. And he might have whooped my ass. Because I wouldn't have backed down if he'd have swung at me. I'd have been on his ass. Now, I had a gun, and this is what I was thinking about. You talk about maturity. I have a gun sitting in my vehicle at all times, one in the chamber, ready to go. And I don't even think about stuff like that. I mean, I don't even think about that. It would have been just
for serious.
Yeah.
That's for serious shit.
Yeah.
No.
This would have been just a 70s fight. But that old guy wouldn't do that to people if he was worried about someone beating his ass because of the way he was doing people. He deserved to have the shit slapped out of him.
Yes. And I'm not into conflict either, but I have some memories like that. And those are my fun ones. Because usually the old kid running his mouth, as soon as you drill him, they run their mouth, they're pussies. They say, quiet son, bitch, you gotta walk.
That's exactly right. But I can tell you this.
I can fucking tell you.
When I got out of my fucking truck, he didn't stop walking. He walked real fast and got in his vehicle and drove off.
Oh, yeah, he's pussed.
Yeah.
He's fucking pussed. He knows the laws. He's a Democrat.
All those people around me were looking and shit. I thought, that's going to fuck this ain't looking good.
So anyway. you told that guy.
Love it. That's so rough. It's like the frog man. They have come from the old fist fighting days. Look at us. Man, I tell you, in our heart, because I graduated in 88, I know. Everybody, there's 20-year-olds that think that they're older, that open the fuck, or not, there's people 70 years old that open the door for me because they think I'm like older than them. It was a rough 53 years, but Jeff graduated in 86. And so we come from them days, where
You just don't. You don't do that.
It wasn't shooting and it wasn't gang fight up on people and stuff. I mean, you just settled your shit and went on.
Yeah. So you told that old boy at the bar, it's your lucky day, pal.
It's your lucky day, and because he would have whipped my ass.
Yeah, I've been that place before too. I jumped out of a car one time with some old boys and we started getting into it, and me and this other guy were the biggest guys there, and I was in good shape then too. And he got up in my face and I pushed him and he pushed me and I pushed him and he pushed me about 10 times this pushing. I didn't want to fight the guy because I thought he would whoop my ass, and he thought I was going to whoop his ass, and he didn't want to fight me. But all of our buddies on both sides were like talking shit. None of them wanted nothing to do with either one of us. But I sure was sore the other day, the next morning, just under my chest from him pushing me. And I saw him a couple of weeks later at a party, and we drank a beer together and laughed. He goes, boy, my chest was sore the next day. I said, mine too. I go, I'm going to be honest with you, buddy. I said, I really didn't want to fight you because I didn't know if I could whip your ass, and I really didn't want to get my ass whipped. And he goes, I was thinking the same thing you were. And I knew it after about the third time of us pushing. And luckily, we got in the cars and we walked off and nothing happened. But I don't want to fight nobody, and I didn't want to fight when I was younger. But I don't have it in me to back down from someone.
Right.
And I just can't do it.
That's why I had to quit drinking, man. Marshall Dillon come out every night at midnight. There's a couple people around here that I think the world would be better off without. And, I mean, when I was drinking, I mean, I was going to take the fucking law into my own hands. I mean, there's just some piece of shit that just do no good for the fucking world, or liars and thieves. I had one kid, fuck me out of a lot, and I'm not, he's sitting in prison right now. And it wasn't because of my deal. It's because he got into fucking, he turned into a compulsive liar and $2.8 million bank fraud. I don't want to go there. I'm in a small town. His fucking mom and dad would be mad at me, but it breaks my heart because he was like a son to me for many, many years. And I got hornswoggled, but I went to basic training when I was 17 years old. Okay. My family came to the Big Island in 1886. I'm going to go ahead and start this off for you boys because I'm a talker, because I can talk because it's the truth. And I'll tell you the same fucking thing 20 years from now because it's the truth. But my family came here in 1886, and they lived on the Big Island, and they farmed, and they started a sawmill, and came from Iowa. It was my great-great-great-grandfather, Highland Carter, came to the lowlands. So anyway, in 1986, my Uncle Ray and my father, Donnie, were alcoholics like the rest of the Carters, and we was over $500,000 in debt. Now, I'm not throwing them under the table, but I mean, fuck, I'm one too. And interest rate was 17.9%. And so we filed Chapter 12 bankruptcy. It was the first in the state of Kansas. And that's a reorganization program where if we can prove to the judge or to the courts that we can sustain ability if they cut our debt in half for the next 3 years. And our attorney was Paul D. Post. Now, I don't know why I remember that, but what's funny is I was talking to an attorney in Topeka here about a month or so ago, and he knew Paul D. Post. So, small world. Just like when I show in the DU show from 2010 at Squad Fest, Mike Checkett, the host, was in the booth right next to us. I mean, small world, people coming up. I used to take pictures with people 30 years ago. Now they're coming up to take pictures. But anyway, so we filed Chapter 12 bankruptcy, and I was 16 years old. And that's when Eddie McCain and Eddie Landreth come over here to the refuge and pulled out maps to John Solosky, who was in charge of the refuge, and said, we want to build a duck lake right there where the rivers come together on the south end of the Big Island. And he said, well, you need to go talk to Carters. So that's how this deal got started. But you talk about out of the box, 180 degrees the other way, man. I started getting water rights to pump water with 12-inch Chris Foley's, 5,500 gallons a minute, about 35 feet ahead, out of the Neosho River, which you have to have water rights and all that. And I had one lady working for the USDA, Department of Agriculture, that absolutely fucking hated me. And I was doing more for Southeast Kansas and bringing more dollars in here than you can ever imagine. And this lady was out to get me. So whenever this one-year-old kid got busted by the KDI and FBI, they got to looking in his cell phone, and there was all kinds of communication with this lady. Well, she got her fucking ass fired. And now we got a team in there that are proactive. And one of them, what's neat is I've worked with one of them for over 30 years. And he fortunately is now the head dog. And we're not trying to hurt nobody's dream. I love this earth more than anyway. So anyway, this all leads to the fact that I'm 16. Yes, I'm a young punk. Oh, well, oh, yeah, right. Well, I'll tell you what, I've been working my ass off. So when I was 16, I already had 10 years of experience on driving tractors. I was raking hay on an H farm all when I was 6 years old by myself the year before, sitting on Dad's lap. As soon as I could hit that clutch, could reach that clutch from that metal seat, I was on that tractor. Then at 17, I went to basic training, Fort Bliss, Texas. They already knew where we was going, to the desert, to the sands. Right. Then in 91, I was called up to go to war. I out-processed. They selected 5 out of my group out of Pittsburgh, 10th SNS. And my MOS was POL. I was the 77 Foxtrot Fuel Supply Specialist. Well, it turns out, First Sergeant Pryor calls as I'm hugging and leaving the house, go get on a bus over to Independence, Kansas. Said, Carter, there's been a mistake. They cannot involuntarily activate one of us. They have to take us all. There's like 120 in our group. So I either scored too high on a test or I flunked the test, if you know what I mean. So something happened, but I looked around and those 5 that they were taking were the smart ones. That being said, but they did sacrifice and use the Army Reserve for the first time in this desert shit because it was going to be such a piece of cake. I told Top, I said, that fucking thing won't last a week. I think it lasted 30 days, Desert Storm. Yeah. We didn't fuck around. We didn't leave troops. But anyhow, we went over there and we watched it on black and white screens and we killed them fuckers. So with that being said, I won't take no bullshit off anybody.
Yeah.
I've earned my fucking stripes.
Now, you're one of the few people that legitimately can say they've been in the waterfowl business longer than we have, and we're over 30 years and you've been in it longer than we have. But there's not a lot of people out there that can say that.
No, and that's why I've accepted you. No, because I don't like door knockers and takers. All this shit, all my life, these ducks rested in these grain fields in Kansas, and they rested on our farm ponds. And we shot mallards the way you're supposed to shoot a mallard, over water. They're waterfowl. Now you guys have got the right thing going. You're giving back. You're not taking. But all these flat-billed son of a guns from all over everywhere but Kansas out here raping and pillaging and putting all this pressure on these ducks. The only thing I can say good about it is I've been the largest green tree flooded timber hunting club in the state of Kansas since I can remember. And I sold a lot, but then I built back more. Mm-hmm. And so now I got more than what I had, actually. Well, damn close. And these ducks, they want to get in that timber bad because they are scared to fucking death.
Yeah.
I used to kill them in there because it was always a hiding spot and they couldn't go buy sunglasses like I did. And they, overhead predators, and stuff, yada, yada. But now they want in there to hide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're timber hunting in Kansas. Everything y'all hunt, y'all control. Y'all control the water, the food, the pressure, everything, right?
I spend, it's all money. It's all diesel fuel, fertilizer, seed. And as I told people that last seminar, my hunts are the cheapest because I don't do lodging. And I'm not going to, don't, if I say something that hurts your feelings, don't answer that, son. That's a farmer you need to talk to. If I say something hurts your feeling, don't take it personal. But if you want to lodge for $50 a night or $1,200 a night, I'll let you choose. I didn't bring my Vaseline. Now, someday we might go to that because we've been forced to. Actually, I was going to build $1.5 million lodge 2 years ago, but then I bought $1.5 million piece of duck property. And you can't kill ducks in the living room of the lodge. You might go stand on top of that son of a bitch and do it. Yes, sir. But no, so that's the deal. Out of that 850, 50 is going to go to the guide, and 800 is going to go to Roy's obsession for building wetlands. I started building wetlands, in 86, and then I was on the steering committee of the WRP in 1991, and there was no federal ground basis. It was just me and a few guys in a circle, really smart biologists. They come to find, I used to love biology and was always going to be a biologist, but I got a degree in elementary ed instead because it can coincide with farming. Wanted to be a vet, but couldn't afford to go to K-State. So with that being said, I didn't go broke, didn't have to teach, and didn't have to look at that clock thing again. God, again, I went broke once. So that other $800, when you come buy a hunt from the Carters, and if you come back next year, I can take you to where your dollars are and show you. I've either bought land or I have built another wetlands. And I can take you up to the bank and show you that that's true too, because, I sold 1,000 acres that I had developed on the Big Island to some philanthropists and thought that I was kind of going to retire. And I had taken that, some of the best farm ground in Kansas. I mean, come on. Neosho River is the longest river that starts in Kansas, starts north of me up by Nebraska. And then I'm on the Fertile Crescent. Now, it's not the Tigris and the
Euphrates.
The Euphrates, but it's the same thing. If you want to know where all your dirt is, there it is, baby. So with that being said, I took that wonderful ground, and it's still in production, but it's set up for ducks now and water rights and this and that. And then I got out of debt. I was able to roll. Drake came back full force, and I sobered up. Yeah. In 2017 of 24, I'd never had a DUI. I had an open container when I was a freshman in high school because Perry O'Brien didn't stop at a stop sign over in Chanute, which your dad's from Buffalo. That's true. And so everything I say is true story, because I hate fucking liars. But with that, if you're a liar, you're a thief, or if you're a thief, you're a liar. You can't be one without the other.
Right.
So with that being said, I know I get kind of caught up a little bit, but you come hunt and you're going to be hunting right over your money. I'm addicted to this stuff. And we was on that WRP committee, and we got that kind of directed. Then the government took grasp of it and ran with it. And I've been building wetlands ever since then, so that's what we do.
So how much more red tape is there today as compared to like the first wetlands that you restored back in the 80s?
It's unbelievable. It's as if they keep putting up roadblocks to see if they can stop Roy from building more wetlands. And I know that sounds, you arrogant motherfucker. No, there's a lot of money that's came to this area. This is the new hot spot. In 1991, I bought some land for $650 an acre off my great aunts. That was $50 over appraisal value. And I paid, $18,000 an acre for some flooded timber that wasn't even developed, but it happened to be in the right spot, and there's 5 millionaires circled around it, you know what I mean, looking at it. And so this area has gotten really huge. As far as red tape, I'm kind of having a lack of words right now, but I've got brush piles that I saved for the eastern spotted skunk, because they was trying to shut me down because the eastern spotted skunk's on the endangered species list, and I've never seen one, but where do they go when they flood? And I said, well, sir, and this sir drove all the way from Pratt, clear across the state. Nice young man. As soon as he gets offered a better job, he's going to take it, but nice young man. Because there's no sincerity when you're doing a line of bullshit.
Right.
I mean, if you're that fucking dumb and you can look somebody in the eye and say, I stand behind this, either you're queer or something's fucked up. But with that being said, and listen, I'm not against queer. That's a biological deal and you can't change it. Hey, I love people. But there's no gray area with me. Okay. There won't be any gray area, because the gray area is just the bad wanting to get with the good. Good doesn't want to get with the bad. Mm-hmm. So there's no fucking gray area around Roy Carter. And that's why I have trouble with society, with city people. They want to come down to the country and bring the city to the country. Well, why in the fuck do you think you left the city?
Right.
Don't come down here and fuck it up. We've got a couple down here still. One for sure. But that won't last long. You finally get tired of being the shits. You know what I mean? If you're somewhere and you're lonely, nobody likes you, and they figured you out, you're finally going to go home. But, I had to do another study on this last wetlands, and they just started it. Oh, really? Another new one? Yeah. So finally, I hired a guy, and he's got a fucking name. Environmental, it's better than Jody Pagan's. It's something like Environmental Impact Solutions. I mean, he's got a name that sounds like a biologist writing up a dream paper that doesn't want to have to work tomorrow. Should I go mow this? I mean, I can write you a paper like back in school, why I'm not going to wipe my ass. Yeah. Oh, the E. coli is going to build up.
Yeah.
So anyhow, that's kind of where we're at now. And I'm trying to think of what it was, but it was some type of floodplain analysis. I believe that's what it was. So I talked to my smart guy that I hired in environmental blow smoke up my ass solutions. And he's got a stamp where he's an engineer. And he worked for the NRCS for 15 years, so he can speak the language,
Yeah.
And it's a lot easier for him because Roy's just going to piss most people off. Yes, I speak in third person because most people can't handle it. and it keeps it simple. It's businesslike. I look at everything like an attorney or a judge, eye in the sky and view down, and try to put myself in their shoes and be very non-biased in my situations. And nothing's etched in stone other than the 10 Commandments because times do change. But yeah, so I hire those guys, and it'll cost me like $5,000 or $10,000 to get the survey done. Then I send it out, and that was like $4,500 from some engineering firm then out of Topeka, and then it goes on a waiting list. Since this fad in Kansas, see, when this water out of Kansas runs into Missouri or Oklahoma, they don't keep track of it no more. Mm-hmm. They just put the pump in and go. I tried building a 3-stage reservoir back in the early 90s and was working with Kansas Rural Water Association, Jim Jackson, and Dr. Was old triplet. I had a lot of good team, but I called it the Kansas Water for Life Project, but everybody thought it was just Roy trying to get rich or something. And I seen it in 1986, the Flat Rock Creek flooded, and they could just throw them pumps away at the refuge and they could just raise a valve. And it's, that particular elevation's 880. And then the next one was 900 above sea level. And then the top reservoir was 920. And it's just boom, 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 but it just makes too much sense. So I put that one asleep, and someday they'll come back to me with that. I see a lot of issues there, but water is where all life form stems. We was talking out in St. Peter's there. I got a young man that joined the camp with me, the club, works for me a little bit, just a good dude, passed well. And he's going to school to get his master's in waterfowl habitat something. And he's working with Dr. Osborne. And so now Roy has got this young man who came from New York with a kid I hired a couple of years ago, because I needed a goose calling, door knocking assassin. I needed to take her because we was in the worst drought we ever had in my life. Fortunately, we are out of that drought. If I'm not hunting on my property, I'm very upset.
Right.
And that only happens about once every 10 years. And boy, do I catch hell. God, the locals give me hell. What in the fuck are you doing over here, Carter? You've got all that hunting. Okay. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
But I'm over here. I'm going to kill these motherfuckers, and then I'm leaving. I'm sorry. I'm over 5 miles from my house.
Right.
I told my boy, I've killed, countless, harvested, whatever, killed, usually about 2,500 greenheads a year for the last 30 years. It was tougher in the 90s, though, and actually, because it was a 2-duck limit, and that was a bit. Sometimes you didn't kill those. But with that being said, never drove over 5 miles.
Wow.
Spoiled.
Very spoiled.
I thought everybody else had 100,000 greenheads in their backyard. So I've got out and I traveled the country from east to west, north to south, down to Mexico, up in Canada. And if you want good mallard shooting, consistent, and better yet, if you know of a place better and more consistent than mine, and shoot them the way I like, I want them to come down the chimney.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Asher's like, if you can get them to cut bank and roll out something, cut bank my ass, I'm going to have them right there.
Yeah.
They ain't cutting bank. They're coming down the chimney. They're going to hit a tree.
What?
Now, we hunt flooded corn. We'll raise 150 bushel of corn and put water on it.
My question for you, Roy, I want to ask a question that everybody wants to know.
Yes.
Do you think and I know your answer already because I've read it and I've quoted you before on here. Do you think that flooded corn is changing the migration of ducks?
Well, yes. There wasn't. I always answer that with there wasn't a plow 150 years ago,
That's
and
right.
I get some people that you could take and hit their head up against that plow, and I think it hurt the plow. Well, what do you mean?
That's right.
A duck. Okay, Jim Gannott taught me more about waterfowl than any other human being on the face of the earth. His father was 50% owner on 2 square sections of flooded timber with the McCollum family in Arkansas during the 40s and 50s. I mean, this old man had shackles hanging on the front of his camouflage bus. Unfortunately, Jim sold. I had the choice to buy it, and I didn't buy it. I let another guy in there, and now that guy's turned into a nuisance. You know, that's the air cannon guy who, yeah. Anyway, that's another story. He'll be trying to sue me if I say too much. But with that being said, let's see. God, I got distracted there. Back me up. Help me out, guys. I got all focused. My emotions got in the way.
You've made a quote before about the reason why the ducks don't migrate anymore, and tell me what it is.
First time Jim Gannott seen a duck using a dry grain field was in 1946. Up until that point, they were waterfowl.
Wow.
You
think about it.
And you have said before that ducks are going to go where they've got food and water.
Yes, they eat their, then Jim Gannott says, Roy, when I was young, they migrated. Now they eat their way south.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of truth to that, and people do not realize that. That's why we don't have the Greater Canada here anymore, because they have they stay north.
I went and stayed with Tim Grounds, and I didn't have lodging or anything, so I slept on his couch. Adam Rometta, who grew up there, and that's like actually these black ducks that I got mounted right there.
Mm-hmm.
That's from Roy Rometta, Adam's brother. Sorry about that. Let me get it back up here, Roy.
You're good.
Roy, don't touch the video. Your son's gone.
Yeah, okay, don't do that.
Anyway, God, what happened?
You're good.
Okay, anyway, they eat their way south. It used to be buffaloes and native grass, and they don't eat blue stem.
Right.
And buffalo grass and Indian grass. And so they went down to the prairies or down to Arkansas and Louisiana to winter. And this climate change is all bullshit. There's been volcanoes, stuff way more powerful. How arrogant of human beings to think that they are that powerful.
Right.
There's been so much more shit. Like when we went through the Ice Age and stuff. And if you'll check in 1953, it's a lot fucking hotter than it is right now.
Mm-hmm.
No comparison. It was so bad that my folks slept outside underneath an elm tree at night because it was so fucking hot in the house. They didn't,
You look at it like all the historical data, and you're right. Like the 50s, because everybody's making, Nevada or Vegas was the hottest it's ever been, and it's like, well, just look at the rest of the fucking country. Like it's all in the 50s.
Yeah, the scare tactics wins politics, and it builds up big money and everything, and that's your gypsies, queers, and liberals once again. And I mean, you'll have that. Look who owns all the television shows and stuff. If you don't watch Fox, you're getting misinformed. I mean, it's plain and simple. And if you can't see it now, then I don't even want to talk to you.
Right.
I don't have time for people that stupid. No, as far as mallard killing, I know there's legendary spots down south, but that's a thing of the past. And if it gets real cold, it happens. And back to that, when I went over to Grounds, because we got so cold, it's either 94 or 99. We lost all our ducks. I mean, there was that 10,000 sitting on the riffle that we worked on for a week, and they got pretty freaking tough. We literally lost them, and the migrators showed up. And they were like out here west of town on Rick Coombs's field, and they lit in a wheat field that was covered with 6 inches of snow, and they had like 10 feet between them. There was thousands of them spaced out. Well, Rometta was with me that day, and he said, yeah, they're melting the snow so they can eat underneath them. And that's exactly what they was doing. They'd come in, they'd land, they hutched down on the ground, and then they stood up after their body heat temperature melted the snow, and they ate the weed under them. That's why they were the only thing left.
Right.
Because they could survive.
Yeah.
People don't realize
their way south. That's interesting.
Yeah, we're gonna have another major winter one of these times. This little ice age that I've heard about since I was a kid is one of these days is going to happen. I'm sure it's after I'm going to be taking a dirt nap, but we'll see a migration again. But The people in southern Louisiana do not have the food sources they used to have. That kills them. They have more sugar cane. Ducks don't eat sugar cane. That hurts them a lot. And then there is more food, but we've got more farms up north also. And that's just part of it. And a duck is an adaptive animal, very adaptive. And people just do not realize that. And they always want to blame it on something else. But I'm sure flooding corn doesn't help the southern migration, but it's because we don't have winter. Because you said it.
Right.
In 99, when it got really cold, your ducks left.
Right. But I'm going to tell you right now, we was colder than a well digger's ass last year, and that's why they shot some down south. When Ramsey Russell was with me, of course, Ramsey didn't know what to think. I've got these 2 blind spot blinds, and I've got to tweak them a little bit. You can't shoot up enough. We designed it with Joe Harris, who I'm going to be at the blind spot booth, because I hung the spurs up, and when I saddled the horses back up again, because Drake says we's hitting a dusty trail, Delta was already sold out. Well, Joe had bought 5 booth space and said, well, Roy, come on, man, you've helped me sell a lot of skid blinds and stuff. So with that being said, we're going to be down there. I can't tell you what booth number, but it'll be at the blind spot booth. And so I'm looking forward to that a lot. Let's see now. Help me out here. Roy's got sideways. Where was we, Joe or Jeff? Where was we at?
What?
The ducks moving. The ducks needing cold weather to move south.
Yes, because I got so many ducking things on my mind. Yeah, they don't. Anyway, old Ramsey Russell was down here, and we was landing them in the water, and then they'd hop out on the ice. Now, the first group of mallards come in there. 2 of them started to land. Jacob, my son-in-law's over outside the blind running the show. And Ramsey, he got all nervous, being from the South. He said, well, somebody better shoot them ducks. And they shot him, and Jacob chewed their ass because he had like a group of 20 up above. And then everybody settled down and got into the sink.
Yeah.
And they worked on them. And a cool picture, because they stood in the ice-eating hole and lined up the mallards and char dog. Really cool picture. And then we were shooting them on that riffle down here. It's a neat setup here. You got the refuge. You got the big island, which is a 3,500 acre inland island where the Neosho River splits and comes back together. And that's about 5 miles long. And then you got this 3 miles of riffle that when the river's low, the whole river freezes except for this shallow moving water. And then there's a 90-degree bend in the river with a huge feedlot on the hill right there.
Mm-hmm.
With a light flashing on top of that feedlot. Now, why do I look at you with these weird fucking eyes and get all excited about that light? Because I've hunted ducks all my life. And I got up in an airplane. I had a bunch of mallards sitting in the pecan grove that I sold Barrett Satterley. That's where you'll see Phil Robinson and those guys, Kansas Beards and Limits. And that YouTube show was shot there and stuff. It's the pecan grove I developed and sold to Satterley, where the Duck Dynasty guys come to Kansas and do their timber hunting. So with that being said, I got up in a little 172 Cessna and I'm flying around. And even though I grew up here and I know it like the back of my hand, I'm lost until I see a landmark. Then all of a sudden I see that cabin, the white cabin, and then I see muddy water, which stood out real big like chocolate milk surrounded by clear water. And then I see white spots, their ass tipping up. And it's that landmark. Well, what I mean by that landmark, when I travel the country and I'm duck hunting, when I head up to Alberta and I go duck hunting, or I'm in North Dakota or Montana or whatever, on the road, I like to get the fuck away from it. So anyway, the duck shooting is not near as good, but it's a road trip. I love road trips, and I'll go with my buddy Watkins and we'll have fun. But I find that when we find them, a good feed, and we're butchering them, that I can almost look behind me and there'll be a flashing light, a tower. And I'm between the tower and the rest pond or wherever they're roosting. And it just makes sense, man. They get up, and at nighttime, see, like the geese used to follow 71 highway. And it's just, you got those cars going down. And so they're, and most of your migration, I'd wake up in the morning, go outside at 4:30 and smoke a cigarette. And if I hear snow geese cross the river on the refuge, then I know we're going to fucking butcher them. We just had another movement, a migration. And so they built some windmills to the west of us. And everybody's like, oh, Roy, what? Interesting thing. We started getting our ducks earlier now. And we got more ducks. And instead of the 14 swans, trumpeter swans that I counted in 08, now we get up to 500.
And they're looking for the lights, you
think. You get in an airplane and you try to find here in the dark and you won't find it. And you turn on a light and it'll happen. As a matter of fact, a huge windstorm came through St. Paul. I had Doug Watkins and another Daryl Dunham leasing the pecan grove that I sold Saturday. Church steeple got blown off in St. Paul, and we didn't have the church light, the beacon. Worst duck season I ever seen.
Really?
They got the fucking church steeple put back on.
What?
Back to dry.
What the hell is this?
Hey, and Goose Lore asking. I'm telling you, he owns Nick and Jake's up in Kansas City. I mean, he's been around this shit all like landmarks. And I'm not going to say that we didn't have a decent season, but it was so bad I called Goose Lore. I nicknamed him Black Cloud. I thought he had fucked us. And so finally we resurrected that name, and actually he and I own a duck lick together, just kind of something where we can go and not bother the kids, or it's a whole bee, but that's all right.
Hey,
I've killed enough of them.
Let me ask you this: as someone that we've shot lots of mallards over the years, but we're not predominantly a duck spot; we're a goose spot. But my question is: do mallards calendar migrate like the geese do? Like we'll have 50,000 speckle bellies here October 15th to 20th every year. We'll have our first speckle belly here in probably 8 or 10 weeks. It happens every single year. Do your ducks show up on calendar dates regardless of the weather? Also, are they more weather related?
About a third of them or half of them do. And I see that all the way down to my friends in Arkansas. They'll have them down there too. And it's like, well, wait a minute. Of course, that's a whole different gig. They go down to Missouri and over in that pattern. Our ducks over here, they don't eat pine trees. And so they stay in those grain fields. And just like when I go scouting on the road, I'm going to be looking for water and grain fields. I pull out my Google Earth. I'm not hunting blue stamp. Like if I'm going to go to Idaho, I'm going to look at the Snake River and I'm going to find me some irrigation pivots. You see what I'm saying? Or Eastern Washington. And that's what's neat about there is there's not a lot of farm ground. It's just right there. Now, I don't know if you can get permission on that stuff, but yeah, they do. We seem to have our calendar migrators, and then here comes your tough northern mallards that eat their way south. And along with those calendar migrators is a lot of your gray ducks, your pintails and everything. And then to emphasize upon that, look at the miraculous blue wing, what he does. I mean, he's a standoffy son of a bitch. He runs it on his own time.
Yeah, those fuckers, they come and go, and you don't even... Like, where'd they go? Why'd they leave?
I always wondered about that with ducks, because even if we have a mild winter, we're going to have the same geese every November that we normally do. Now, if you get a really cold, I wondered about that with the ducks, if the ducks are going to show up pretty close to. So on December 7th, you're going to be loaded with a lot of ducks, regardless of if we've had winter or not.
Yes, and it's so crazy. Like one year behind Mallard Manor project, there was about 35 mallards and 2 black ducks. And I don't remember exactly when it was. I just seemed like it was mid to early December. And then the next year, about the same calendar date, I took a friend of mine that's never duck hunted in his life, Tim O'Brien, out there just to look around and check everything out. And up they popped. A group of mallards and 2 black ducks, probably sitting 10 feet from where they were last year on that same calendar day.
Wow.
Yeah. And so, they imprint. That's why, people say, well, Carter, the reason you're hunting so good, that refuge is there. Well, wait a minute. Why do you think they built that refuge there? I mean, if you come by my booth, did you see my pictures from 1947? Come on. I also, right beside me over here to the west of the island is Lake McKinley, and it's the first state lake built in Kansas. It's one of two, actually. It was built with slips and mules, and I know I bounce around a lot, but back to that Big Island story, 1986. Well, those levees that I'm pumping water over to fill these impoundments was built to keep that river out in 1905 by my ancestors. So they built these levees on the island and they're farming. And then 100 years later, there's some crazy son of a bitch pumping that ever so feared river water over the levees.
Yeah.
Into the island, which is a perfect setup. We don't have terraces. We don't have soil erosion. We have ditches. We try to get what we need here. And but you can only do so much. And I guess there's just nobody around here. But if somebody was to do ridge till farming on the island or these river bottoms around here, be lights out. Of course, you'd have to get, with the water issue in the state I was going to say you'd have to get irrigation permits, but guess what? In the state of Kansas, you can no longer get, and this has been this way for a long time, you cannot get water irrigation permits. You can get recreational permits. So about 20 years ago, I said, well, you know what? I get this smart ass branch of genetics from my great uncle Lloyd. He had a nickname for everybody. I said, let me define this as it sounds like we're going to have a hell of a lot of fucking fun starving to death. Yeah, you can get water rights for recreation, but not for agriculture. And there's people starving. That makes sense?
That makes a lot of sense.
And yet nobody wants to build a reservoir because God forbid that the gray-haired bat would have to move 50 feet or, it's gotten absurd. Like when they built a little reservoir up here at Bone Creek, they had to buy equal acreage so that them critters could move over there. Well, the critters don't care who owns the acreage. They's going to move anyway. That's acidine. I was working with ex-governor Mike Hayden, and then he was in charge of Kansas Department of Wildlife and Parks for a while, which was kind of handy because I had to line out a couple idiots on back then. I don't have a lot of stroke, but I know a lot of people, and I'm honest. My family's been here for over, since 1886, so we didn't stick around lying and stealing. And anyway, the reason I reached out and got in touch with Mike Hayden's because he was the only guy I know that could get a lake built in Kansas, and it's called Horse Thief Lake. At that time, since 1988, they'd taken out 500 dams. It's not a trend. It's all deoxygenation. It's like a dead ecosystem in their eyes. And
yeah, I don't understand. Kansas is a lot like Texas, especially when you get to the western side of it. It's drought ridden, so you need more reservoirs. Liberalism's killing our country, and the stupid things like all the EPA studies on everything is ridiculous. Yes. What's crazy is they make us look like we don't want clean water and a clean air, and it's the complete opposite. Everything we do, we're giving back to Mother Nature. Like when you build a duck lake, I'm going to use you, Tony Vandemore, and everybody else out in the world that floods corn and stuff. You're providing habitat not just for ducks and geese. You're providing varmints a place to drink. You're providing deer a place to drink. You're providing resources for all parts of Mother Nature. And it's a lot better off than putting a fucking cement and building a fucking mall out there. I can promise you.
That's a funny thing you brought up. Yeah, more life form stems from the water than any other ecosystem, and I'll get back to that with the paleontonic soup theory. But with I had a couple white van loads with sunflower tags on them 20, 30 years ago, back in the 90s. And I said, do we stand on this side of the river and support the Mad Tom catfish, or that side of the river and support the Clean Water Act? Because we used to excavate this gravel. Now it just keeps hitting that steep bank and falling off. And I've never seen that little bastard run out of the water and shit his eggs out, the Mad Tom catfish, up on the gravel bars. And I said, I'm going to tell you right now, if you're so fortunate when you get back to Topeka, if you're so fortunate that you have a window in that office where you're making all these laws and rules and telling us landowners what to do on our own land, if you're so fortunate to have a window, I want you to look out there at that parking lot and ask me if there was any critters that used to live under all that fucking oil you just put down.
Yeah.
Yep.
How dare you?
Yeah.
Now, I'm sick and tired of the bullshit. And I think America is too. And it's going to come back to it. That's why I stand out.
Mm-hmm.
Because everybody else is too cowardly. They're not that they're cowards, but they just want to get along. Maybe they're such good humans that they don't want to cause a ruckus. Well, no, we need a little ruckus right now. So, that's kind of my 2 cents. I know if you're in business, why in the hell would you do politics or religion? You're just kind of narrowing down but no.
There ain't very many people that like to do what we do that are liberals.
No, and so I don't even really go there. But yes, I was raised Catholic, and I don't want to get into Darwinism or whatever, but he is misconstrued. I mean, maybe a million years is one day, but it's pretty obvious to me that life. I mean, you can see by the skeletal remains that life form came out of the water. Obviously they had taken a vial of salt water and shot electrical charges through it and came up with like 30 of some amino acids and just shy of what it takes to create life form. And so obviously they've got it narrowed down where, the first single living organism was the amoeba, and then boom, boom, boom. Next thing you know, here we are. I mean, if you look at a human being and you look at a monkey and tell me that we didn't come from monkeys, then you're fucking blind. And you're just not very smart.
So talk to me about this, because a lot of people are talking about how they don't see the mallards that they used to. They think the population is in a pretty steep decline. Are you just holding them all on the big island?
No, I ain't got them all, but they probably need to pack up and move north about 500 miles, because it seems like my friends at Habitat Flats is killing it. And I know we've been grinding them. And like last year, Ramsey Russell's like, my God, you guys killed it. Other places dude, I've been spoiled. I've absolutely been spoiled. And I didn't know it. And I feel real stupid, because if somebody smarter and better than me would have had what I had the opportunity, they could have took this thing and ran with it, probably never had to sell, this and that. But I don't regret that, man. I drive over that bridge and do my bridge report, and I look at those 1,000 acres as I see a lot of things that need done, and I don't have to do it. I mean, I'm such a nervous Nelly. I was never at peace. And I finally have found peace and serenity, and it's amazing. They call me the commander, and they've called me the commander for a long time. And it has nothing to do with duck calling or anything. I know I'm hard to be around sometimes. I'm type A. And I might line everybody up and have inspection in my front parking lot, and they might be millionaires. And I found it's funny as hell, because everybody's kissing all these millionaires and billionaires' ass, and old Roy, he'll chew their fucking ass. They like it. Right. They like it. They've never, I won't chew their ass, because, they don't like to be belittled or anything. I might be one of them. Who knows? I'm not destitute, but I've already kind of reinvested it all. What's neat though is back to these ducks. I treat everybody the same, I guess is what it is. And rich people, a lot of times, have had their ass and nuts sucked so long that when they find somebody that finally treats them like their friend back home, they like that.
Yeah.
But back to these ducks, the good Lord, we got on top, and then I sobered up, and then I took a lot of that equity and I invested it. And I used creative planning up in Kansas City, a good new group, and they've hit a home run. And then I've got my stuff on the side, and then I used, with a clear head and open eyes, I use like this COVID deal. I seen that coming, and I thought, okay, I've got all my life savings here in the stock markets. Now I play with a little bit, and I let the smart guys play with the rest. And I thought, what are they going to do here to fraudulently win this election? So I sold my FANG stocks and got ready. And then COVID hit, and then I bought DocuSign, Moderna, Zoom, Clorox. And I mean, it was a no-brainer. It was the easiest move. It's almost as easy as owning NVIDIA. The easiest move I've ever done.
Yeah.
And those crooked cocksuckers, China was getting their nuts clamped by Trump. The shit come out in Wuhan or whatever fucking
Wuhan.
Yeah. And then they killed the 2 American doctors that was coincidentally, they disappeared. They died. That was in charge of it. And then you start getting people that don't have to show up with ID to vote. I mean, or this and that. And then you hear them say one thing and do another as soon as they've been elected, because Trump was addressing the deal. So anyway, I come to find out later that it was the largest transition of wealth, of taking more money from the working people, because money doesn't lay eggs. For one person to gain $1, another one has to lose it. It was the biggest transition of wealth added to the rich ever in history. Well, if stupid fucking Roy can turn it like he turned it.
Yeah.
You know, Joe's buddies. I mean, come on. So what a blowjob, you know what I mean? And that's what really impresses me with Trump. You can't buy him, he's rich. And then I've always been a Trump fan just because he's genuine. He's a hard ass. He reminds me of me. But I'm not his quality. When that motherfucker stood up and raised his fist and got pissed off,
yeah,
even the fucking Democrats couldn't help but love it. Or else I hear, it was a setup or something. I mean, yeah, whatever. But anyway, that was a great deal. I sure hope he gets back in there. I know when Trump won the first election, I went out in Main Street at St. Paul at the bar and shot my pistol off up in the air 6 times, brought it back into the bar and handed it to the bartender and said, "Hide that." So I obviously was drinking. That's a true story. And the law never showed up. Fuck no. They were shooting their weapons off too.
Yeah. I'd seen Trump had said that Secret Service wanted to bring a stretcher. And he's like, "No, you're not. I'm standing up and I'm walking out."
Hell yeah. He's a real man. Yeah. Do you think I don't think Kamala has a chance in hell to win the election. I really don't. I think the Democrats, the Democrats think their voters are stupid. They don't think they go to grocery stores. They don't think they look at their power bill right now. They don't think they buy gasoline. They're stupid. They lie to them about stuff, and they take for granted the black vote and the Mexican vote. The Mexicans are not happy about what's going on at the border. The black people, the Democrats haven't done nothing for the black community in 60 years. They take all that. They take that all for granted. I just had a friend of mine that's gay just messaged me. He goes, "Do you think Kamala has a chance?" Not if you won't vote for him. You know,
I hate to sound like, because I play stock markets, but you can ask the boys this, and you can ask some guys I talked to on Saturday at Squad Fest. A few months ago, I'm wondering, what are they going to do? And I thought, well, they're going to declare Biden incompetent, and they're going to run her because she's going to try to get the black and the Mexican vote and the female vote. So she is going to gain votes compared to Biden, but it's the same platform. I'm going to say this, and I don't want people to get upset with me, but when you go to school, 70% is average for a reason. What that tells you is 69% of the world is dumb. And so they need to take, if they're going to vote, if they're going to be able to vote on the biggest fucking decision that rules the business of this world, they have to take an aptitude test.
Right.
Okay. Yes, I sound arrogant, but why is C a C? Why is 70% 70%? Think about that.
Yeah.
So 70% of the population is so fucking dumb, they don't know.
I agree with you on that. I really do.
Makes a lot of sense.
There's no argument.
I can't imagine anybody that lives in America, anybody, and I'm going to bet you that there's no telling what we're in the high 90% rate of anybody that will listen to us anyways. I'm going to mostly all be Trump voters. How can anybody vote for the Democrats? If you're an American citizen, if you own a business, if you work, if you pay taxes, how can anybody vote Democrat? I just don't get it.
You want me to tell you how?
Yeah.
My good buddy Corky, bless his heart, they made their money building bridges and highways and doing government work. And he used to, I mean, the Beecher family, and I hate to God, none of them guys are in, but some of the grandkids, they'll love it. But they donate to both parties. And I told Corky, now he voted for Trump the first time. He told me that. He showed me the sign and he hit it again because they're big Democrats. Well, how can you be Catholic and be Democrat?
Right.
Yeah. On the abortion, I don't want to go there. I mean, if it's a fucked up deal, take it, but don't play God, just common sense, people. But if you're doing government work, if you're doing welfare, if you're doing basically shit that is ruining our economy, then you vote Democrat. I mean, if you're a fucking mooch, you vote Democrat. And if you're a fucking stud, you vote Republican. Which one you want to be?
Yep.
Yeah.
It just blows my mind, people that own businesses, struggling small businesses that are going to vote Democrat again. I'm like,
I was a registered Democrat. I was a registered Democrat up until like 10 years ago. And then a guy over there, when I went to get my license changed, he says, man, I see you're a Democrat. You want to change that? I said, you fucking ain't right. I didn't know I could that easy. I thought I had to go to courthouse. And I'm me not being a taker, me owning quite a bit of land, when I go to the courthouse, it's a bad financial situation.
Right.
Yeah. I had the guys hunting from Sitka, and they're always, well, how come Nick's not right? I take and grab my tax statements and I'd roll them across the living room and I'd say, well, that's why we're killing mallards, and that's why I'm in fucking charge. It costs a lot of money to do this every year, but no, those people are just uneducated, and I didn't leave the Democratic Party. Democratic Party left me.
Yeah, and that's
the only reason all the farmers were Democrats was because Franklin Delano Roosevelt was a Democrat. He was a great man. And then they just, like say, it's all changed. It's all went to take care of the minorities, the females, which shouldn't be a minority. I mean, it's a person's a person, but
yeah, you should.
Anybody wanting a free ride?
The Democratic Party is not the. When my dad grew up, my grandparents and my dad were Democrats. Democrats and Republicans were not just a huge. There was not a lot of big changes between the two of them. There were some social issues, but it was pretty close up until probably around 1976. Now, Ronald Reagan was the first true conservative, and that's when you started seeing the party split. Even when Bill Clinton was in office, there wasn't a big difference between Bill Clinton and George H. Bush. But, man, there's a huge difference from the Barack Obama Democratic Party to what we have to the JFK Democratic Party. And people cannot we've been voting Democrat for 80 years. Well, if you've been voting Democrat the last 20 years, you can see a huge transformational change in our country. And it's pretty obvious to see. I mean, you go to Oakland, California right now, and if you go to the right neighborhood in Oakland or Baltimore, any big city, you don't know if you're there or in Serbia or Bosnia when they were bombing this shit. It looks terrible. And that's the world we live in.
Yes, and that's like earlier when I was talking about back when I was a drunk and going to solve all the world's problems and take care of all the outlaws, old West style, and packing 6-shooter into bars and shit. And, that's, I don't know, kind of maybe where we need to go. These Democrats, it's socialism. They're uneducated. It's not so much their fault. It's just they're uneducated on why America is great, why you're not locked in. The only thing holding you back is yourself or your mental capabilities. Like I say, that's why I went to basic training when I was 17, because I couldn't afford to go to college. So I got the GI Bill. Don't come fucking crying to me.
That's exactly right.
Yes, especially in today's world, I took out student loans to make farm payments. I maxed them out so that I could make my freaking farm payments.
Right.
I mean, it's a no-brainer. Interest is interest, points is points. Take the cheapest money you can get. And so
I want to ask.
It's been a test.
I want to ask you this, Roy. And you may not want to talk about that, and if you don't, that's no problem at all. But you've talked in reference that you used to be an alcoholic, or I guess you're always an alcoholic. And what made you quit drinking?
Oh God, what a story! And I'm glad you brought it up.
Well, something people want to talk about, and people like to hear stories of people that overcome.
No. I'm an AA. I mean, I'm alive, Jeff.
Right.
I'm alive. I had never, here we go circling around. Old Roy still got that mindset. Probably needs to go to a meeting. Haven't been to a meeting in a while, but anyway, I'm alive probably because of AA. On January 24th of 2017, I took a knife to a gunfight and I won. I seen some things going on somewhere that I didn't care for, and it needed corrected right away, and I addressed it. Well, they tried to keep me out of there, and old kids threw a 12-gauge shell in a Benelli and pointed it right at my head. I was an alcoholic. I was at rock bottom, and I'm screaming, "Come on!" He was supposedly mafia, and the only reason they're here is they went hunting with me 10 years before this, and it was so good they bought a little spot and moved it, come down here from Kansas City. So anyway, I'm screaming, "Come on, pull the trigger, you puss. Come on, you ain't got the fucking balls, pull the trigger." And I kept walking toward him, and he let me get close enough where I could do the old, knock the barrel, grab the neck, and I had a new belt knife because I was Cal Roy. I'd leased all my duck hunting out to Habitat Flats, and I was drinking beer and raising cattle, running cattle. Had spurs and cowboy hat and fucking riding I got some neat shit, man. Some neat story. If we'd had a camera, I wouldn't have to work a day in my life. I'm talking crazy shit out there at the ranch. So with that being said, they called the law. I waited because I hadn't done anything wrong. Nobody got hurt. There wasn't blood anywhere. They said, "Well, Roy, did you, I heard you pulled the knife and took action." No. Do you see any blood? And I didn't do nothing. And they let me smoke a cigarette. And then they hauled me over to Erie and put me in solitary confinement for 3 days. Oof. Well, if I don't take my itch medicine, I start itching the hell out of the back of my hands. And I got a wool blanket and a light shining in my eyes. And then I smoked 3 packs of cigarettes a day. I was on taking Xanaxes because I was having problems sleeping and relaxing, and drinking 30 plus beers a day.
Gosh,
and so that was quite a shocker. And then I come out of there, and I show up at my house right here where I'm sitting right now on this very countertop, and there's my family and my loved ones and Doug Henslick, my brother from another mother, and we had us an intervention and decided that Roy had a problem, and I agreed. Mm-hmm. And so I loaded up and went to Valley Hope. I drove the Suburban out there, which is north of Wichita, a couple hours from here, and Mound Ridge, I think is where it's at, north of Wichita, just jag. And so anyway, I go out there and I do sign up for a 30-day dry out program. Well, I sit down with this nice lady at the desk to get in there, and they said, "Mr. Carter, just take a few notes here. Is alcoholism, is there, do you have a lot of relatives in your family that are alcoholics?" And I said, "Well, ma'am, simplest way to do that is just write down that Grandma Aggie was not an alcoholic." Okay. Because like my great uncle Lloyd drank himself to death in his late 40s. Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah. And so then she got to look and she says, "Now, wait a minute here. It's Thursday, evidently the 27th or 28th, and we got you scheduled to be here Monday." And I'm like, "What? What are you talking about?" I look behind me and they said, "Yeah, Roy, we didn't tell you this, but we met about 3 weeks ago and we knew you had a bad problem, and we had you signed up to come here the day after duck season."
Wow.
I'd never been arrested in any trouble all my life. Partied like a fucking rock star. I had a fake ID when I was a freshman in high school. Partied at Las Vegas strip joints, LA. I was at summer break at Padre Island, spring break of 1987. I mean, so anyway, the good Lord basically grabbed me by the neck or the throat and put me in that little cage and woke my ass up. Mm-hmm. And so they had signed me up. I showed up 4 days early. Yeah. Unbeknownst to me. And if that's not a story or a miracle, then I don't know what the fuck is. And then during that, they was like, yeah, when you get out of here. Oh, and during that sobriety deal, after about day 8, I started having dreams again. I didn't realize that I wasn't, all the alcohol and the Xanaxes, I wasn't even dreaming. And they looked at me and they're like, you're not supposed to take these two together. This is what killed Marilyn Monroe.
So do you think that you would have gone had you not spent 3 days in solitary confinement? Do you think that you would have gone willingly on that Monday?
Not nearly as convinced,
right.
Probably. But it was getting bad.
What were you drinking a day?
I drank 30 beers a day. One time I ran out at 2 a.m. We were hanging, and so I had a 30 pack, and then I went and got another 12 pack, and I ran out at 2 a.m. Was thirsty as fuck, and decided, well, I guess all I can do is go home and go to bed now. But 42 and thirsty is what I call that day. Now, before that, I was drinking Grey Goose. And my good buddy who's dead now, Ron King, he owned Little Toledo Hunting Lodge up here. He told me one time that vodka is the last frontier. So I thought I was helping myself by quitting the vodka and just going to the beer. But, man, I'm going to tell you, I'd get really drunk, and I was really a loud, fiery drunk. The kids thought I was having all kinds of fun. Interesting stories. Like my wife really didn't know I was drinking that much. I come home and take a shower because I'm going to take her out to eat at Ernesto's, and I get about halfway to Parsons and I start swerving. It's in a snowstorm, and she starts cussing. God damn it, you're drunk. Get it. Scoot over. I'm driving. I pull over, and well, fuck, she leaves me. So I walk over to a guy's house that I used to rodeo with there by the highway, and knock on the door and ask him if I could sleep in his barn. Well, he starts fucking laughing, and his Rangers invites me in. Yeah, she come and got me, but it was getting bad. I'd been left in Kansas City.
That's a good story for people to hear, though, because there's a lot of guys struggling that are in our industry with drinking.
Well, it's a party all the time. You get guys out here for a couple days, and you gotta keep up with them. And
I'm in the entertainment business,
right?
Yep.
I was in the entertainment business, and I could out drink damn near to everybody. And we had 19 kids in my graduating class, and we had 19 kegs at our senior keg party.
Right. God Almighty.
The parents were against it. I was vice president. The parents were against it and said 5 kegs. So we took 14 kegs over to my neighbors a half-mile away over at Frankie Aikens and put in a stock tank full of ice. And then when a couple got low, my dad and Frankie would just swap them out. And so we had 5 kegs all night long over at the Carter Farm in Quonset.
I've had guys that work for me that drank a lot, and I've had guys that don't drink at all. But I don't let my guides do not hang out with my customers at nighttime. We don't do that. The customers have their separate area. My guides have a separate area. I don't mind my guides having a beer at dinner time and stuff, but we do not drink with our clients because of that. It's not a good recipe, but we are in the entertainment business, and it's conducive. But I know a lot of guys that have got really bad drinking issues in our, and it's every industry. It's not just the hunting industry. But anybody that's in sales that entertains clients and stuff, they're around drinking and stuff a lot. And you either got to have a whole lot of discipline, or you got to separate yourself from it, because it's hard to especially when you get guys that come up and they're on vacation, they want to drink for 2 or 3 days. Well, you're not on vacation, you're at work, and in day 4 when they're gone, you got a new group of guys coming in that want to drink for 2 or 3 days, and so you got to be able to separate that. So what you told is good for young people. If you can get sober, they can get sober.
Yes.
Don't be afraid to do it. Nobody looks, and you know what's funny? No one looks down on someone for quitting to drink. I've never known anybody that quit drinking. Now, I've known some guys that are still alcoholics that are pissed at their buddies for quit drinking, but 90% of the people appreciate and support you for what you've done. You've changed your life around. And all the good you've done since you're sober. That young man from the Italian kid, I met your booth the other day. That kid's getting a great opportunity because you're sober and you're helping him out.
Yes, and I'm hoping to put him to work doing what I dream about doing is helping the ducks one duck at a time.
Yeah, and that's
because he's, hopefully he gets his doctorate degree and we can roll with it. I mean, one could say, "Oh, Roy, you're just being a politician." Hell, I mean, yeah, in today's world, if I write a pretty fucking paper, I'll be able to kill 2,000 more mallards and they won't ridicule me. But that's not, if I feed 200,000 more and help them to next year, then I've got the right to shoot me a couple.
You do. And you being sober is giving that opportunity. If you were drinking like this, first, you don't even know if you'd still be here. Second, you don't know what your opportunities you'd be for teaching and educating young people because you've got a good story to tell. You come off as a loud, gruff horse's ass, just like I do. And I like that about you. I do. I like you because you and me are a lot alike in a lot of ways. And that's our generation that we grew up in. But without us to be here, we can't teach young people the way we think things should be. It doesn't mean we're always right, but we have a way of doing things, and we need that. And those young people in your life need you. Drake needs you. So I'm proud of you for getting sober. I think that's a great thing.
Well, thank you, brother. Yeah, the pussification of the United States and California politics is going to be the damnation. But yeah, that sobering up, man, was quite a journey. They said, well, you need to go to 90 meetings in 90 days. I went to, and at first you think, what? No way, that's fucking impossible. I was so addicted to actually enjoy. I was in such misery and didn't know it until I started working the 12 steps. I went to 2 meetings a day when I got back home for over a year. And I had to work on Roy. Nothing else was ever going to exist or matter until I fixed Roy. I was a broken toy in the toy box. And, before I thought I had to run everything. I was the commander. I'm in charge of everything. Now, when something fucks up, it ain't my fault. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to point it on him, but he's in charge, and he's a hell of a lot, weak person, strong God. And I'm not really a Bible thumper. I've been on both sides of that deal. And hell, some of my life, I didn't really believe in God. I mean, I was like when I sold that property, I was close to $1.5 million in debt, drinking 30 beers a day on the farm by myself. It just wasn't a good setting. Drake was working out in California at that time. And the good Lord had basically a plan for me, and he's got a plan for all of us, I guess, and none of us really know it. And it's weird because I used to think Phil, I thought Phil was a fucking screwball at one time. He was down on the island one day and I went to shake hands with him and Trebo. And I mean, he spun a hill and off he went. He was a nice guy and everything, but he was always had his Bible at Kansas City and stuff. Now, when I look back, it's like, wow, Phil's not a screwball at all. He always said, happy, happy, happy. Mm-hmm. Dude, that pretty much sums it up. He's not a screwball. He's got it figured out. And pretty good, real good people, actually. They come from what they are, just like I come from what I am. You stick me somewhere else, they think, wow, but you stick me down here in southeast Kansas, and hell, I'm just another one of them. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, you got to find a path.
The 3 days in the solitary confinement, how sick were you? Kicking all that?
Not bad. Sweating a lot. I basically stood up there. They had a stainless steel shitter right in front of a 2-way door where they could, and I ate some piece of spicy chicken that they brought through the window there the first time, and I was on that shitter like in 5 minutes. So I didn't eat anything else other than like they give you some carrots, corn, and beans, green beans out of a can that's cold, not heated up. And then the damn Tang or whatever that orange drink is they give you is in a plastic cup that's got all these fucking criminals sketchings, and they've carved shit into the cup, and it's grungy with as I stood over the top of the shitter, there's a little broken stainless steel spout, and you push a button and water comes up out of it. And soaked my hands in that, and just kind of started praying. And it was a long 3 days.
Yeah, I don't doubt it. Yeah, I mean it's a hell of a story, and it's a hell of a testament. It just shows, what you're really made of. You know what I mean? I mean, making a change and not making an easy change at that.
Right. And then once you sober up and you start working these steps, you start getting these gifts that they tell you you'll receive. And it's all just up here. I mean, and that's where my problem was in between my 2 years. I got a highly active mind, or what little brain I got's very active. Mm-hmm. And so when I get drunk, it's what can I do next? It's going to rock this world. What's the next big event? And, and that's, how small town. I mean, it used to be like Halloween here, you couldn't drive down Main Street because they had cars and shit houses on fire. I mean, it's like, what can we do next? And it's the shit I was wanting to do. They just, you can't just go do that anymore. You can't go have a gunfight up on Main Street.
Right.
And so, I guess if you try to clean up the streets too clean nowadays, you might get thrown in jail yourself. But no, it's turned out to be awesome. We're back to doing what we love. I've got the best non-alcoholic team that ever. Jeff, you've seen my crew there. They don't drink. Young, motivated. They listen. Are they perfect? No, none of us are. But we're going to work. If you come and hunt with us, we're going to take care of you like family, if not better than family. And my guides usually don't hang out with them too much. And I learned a long time ago, kind of another downfall on having a lodge, I kind of wanted separate spaces. You know what I mean? Because I like to party one way. Maybe you don't like to party that way. Or I like to listen to music this way or that way. But I never liked letting my clients get together and compare notes. Because everything's a strategy base in life, in stock markets and everything. And when you come to my place, I don't need you telling me what to do or where you're going to go. Okay. I'm fair to everybody, and I know a lot fucking more about it than they do on this particular property. And so I will take good care of you. We'll take good care of you. But, if it's hammering good, everybody's going to kill them.
Right.
And if it's slow and I got one spot that's hot, I'm going to try to get you all through there as fast as I can. But it's just, other than that, good Lord's up to the rest of it. We're going to do everything we can. And what's neat about this family I got, and myself and my kids, as soon as our feet hit the ground in the morning, I promise you, every day we're trying to figure out how to kill more ducks and provide more habitat. I know that sounds strong, and I'll say all the nice things too, but provide more habitat in a legal fashion and make it a better experience for our customers every day. And so, I mean, I've got a dozer uptown here. It's getting fixed. Equipment. I got a lot of work I need to get done, and we'll just keep plugging along,
Small improvements every single day. That's all you gotta.
Every day.
That's all you gotta make.
Very good.
Well, listen, Roy, this has been a lot of fun. It's been really fun picking your brain and hearing your story. We will see you
Friday,
in Baton Rouge here in just a couple of days.
Yes, sir.
Look forward to seeing you out there.
We'll have us a Diet Coke together, my friend.
There you go.
I know it. I keep that. I do keep that my hands busy. You can always tell us old drunks. They always usually got that.
I was raised by one, and I don't ever remember my dad not having a cup in his hand. In the last 30 years of being sober, never ever seen in the last 30 years of his life not drinking something all the time.
Sweet tea, coffee. It's just something all the time. Anyways, Roy,
and I swore, Jeff, that I wasn't going to be an alcoholic. My dad was a terrible alcoholic. My mom and my father got married 3 times to each other.
Wow.
I would have loved for my dad to still be alive to visit with you about the area you're in. That's his old stomping grounds, and y'all would have had some great stories. And I promise you, a lot of your old farmers and people you deal with are people he knows very well. God bless you, Roy. I will see you on Friday. I look forward to coming by and sitting and visiting with you again.
Well, Andy and Jeff, God bless you guys, and Jeff, you've got you a fine young man right there.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that very much. His mama done a good job on him. Y'all be safe driving down, and we will see you on Friday.
We'll see you on Louisiana.
Right, we'll see you live.
Yes,
down
sir.
at Delta, baby.
Yes, sir.
Love it. See you soon. Bye.
All right.
Y'all come out to Delta and see us in Baton Rouge for the Delta convention. Me and Andy will be there with the boys from Boss. Boys from Pacific will be there. Alpha Outdoors will be there. Lucky Duck will be there. Roy Carter will be there. Dirty Duck will be there.
Shin will be there.
Shin will be there. It's a good time. Come out and see us. Look forward to it. I'm not going to tell everybody to buy you a beer this time. Thank you so much for listening to us. God bless y'all. Have a great week.
Love you. Bye. Watch for deer. Check out all of our great sponsors. Go check out Mitchell Chevrolet, Mallard Bay, Hemp Hill Farms. Use our promo code BHP, Alpha Outdoor Specialties, Stanfield Outfitters, Mossberg, Double T British Kennels, Ducks Unlimited, Lucky Duck, Looking Glass Podcast, Shin Gear, Dirty Duck Coffee, Dive Bomb Industries, Pacific Calls. Our promo code is BHP25, Boss Shot Shells, and MLR Graphics.